Welcome to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show. I'm Mike Pullen, and recently I've had a lot of emails from you guys out there looking to do drop shot fishing, and mostly for perch. I did a video recently of perch fishing on soft plastic lures. There's a link, I'll put a link just up here by my shoulder if you guys want to check out that video. I did some drop shotting in that video, and you seem to really enjoy it. Now, I've had a good few emails from you guys about how to tie the actual rig itself. So here's a little video on my personal way of tying the drop shot rig. Okay, first things first is your fluorocarbon. So this is sort of the terminal gear really of your drop shot rig. So I use 15-pound fluorocarbon for my drop shot fishing. Sometimes if I'm going lighter and I'm looking to use light tackle, I'll probably go down to 10 pounds. But I like to use 15 just because it's strong and you've got a greater chance of catching the fish. So there's the end of it there. I like to pull off about 3 feet, so I'll get a good length of it, stretch it out, and that's about 3 feet there. Get some scissors, make the cut. The hooks I use usually are, I think they're mustard, and these are their drop shot hook. I usually use a size 2, and you can tell it's a drop shot hook because it's got that kind of offset eye there, which the line sits straight through there, and that's what helps get that hook sticking out to the side. I also use a size 4 sometimes as well if I'm doing a bit lighter tackle fishing, and I don't know why, but a lot of the time people say fish like red, so they obviously do a red version there as well. But most of the time I like to use a size 2, and that can catch you perch, tiny perch and big perch as well. They're not afraid of that sized hook. The other thing with fluorocarbon is it kind of can, when you cut it, it can curl up, but because of the rigidity of it, you can run it through your hand like this. I'm pulling it through tension there just to help straighten it, and I'm just keeping it quite taut, and that should just help. I'm just resting it against my finger. Try not to burn your finger when you do this, and that just helps to straighten the whole 3 foot of fluorocarbon out. It just straightens it and makes it a bit easier to tie the rig. Now, one of the mistakes that I used to make quite a bit when I was tying the drop shot rig is, this is my braid here, this is my braided main line here coming straight off my reel, off the fishing rod. Here's the fluorocarbon. Now the mistake I used to make is I used to tie this knot first and then put my hook on. Now sometimes when you tie the hook on, it's really important which way the hook faces. It needs to face up, and at least if you tie the hook on this first before you tie here, then whichever way you tie it up, you can either use this end or you can go and use the other end, so it doesn't matter then. Whereas if you've already tied that to your braided main line, then you're stuffed with which way the hook is. So always, the way I do it is I leave my braid, the knot from the fluorocarbon to the braid until right at the end. So let's tie the hook on first. Right, well here's my size 4 drop shot hook, and got the fluorocarbon here. Just go once through the eye with the hook. I like to do it with the hook facing down, the hook point, sorry, facing up, but the hook on the bottom part of the line. And I'm going to slide the line up, and if you can see that on the full screen, I'm leaving it sliding up until I've got about there, just over a foot of fluorocarbon on the back end of the hook. Now, if you come in close again, I'm taking this tag end here, doesn't matter really, but it's coming from the back of the hook, and I'm going back through it. So back through the eye. And then I'm just pinching the knot so nothing slides, and I'm pulling that, just that line, through until I've got what looks like this. Okay, the end of the line is here, there's a loop, just pinch that, and then there's my hook. Now at this stage, what I'm going to do is just pinch the line. You want to make sure the hook doesn't twist over the top of the line like this. You want it facing down all the time. All I'm going to do is tie an overhand knot here. So I'm pinched. I just get closer to the loop. It's quite fiddly, this knot. So there's my hook. Now all I'm going to do is go round here, overhand knot, and under. So now if I can show you that before I pull it tight, that's what you should have. An overhand knot there that's gone through the eye, and then there's the loop here. Now, At this point, you can slowly pull the loop and the knot so that it cinches down a small bit, but do not pull this tight just yet. So I pull it till about that stage there. So there's as you can see, the overhand knot's quite small now, and there's my loop. Now what I do is I like to put saliva on it now, early. So I'm just licking my fingers, putting lots of saliva on, because that's going to help that knot cinch down tight together and hopefully not make any burns or snap in your line. Now this is the important bit. This loop here that you've then got goes over the hook, and I pinch the hook there so that it doesn't come over. Okay, so it's over my fingers now as well. It's down here, the loop. Now I can pull that small knot together. As I pull both of these lines together, that small knot cinches down, and then always make sure this loop, if I can grab it, is then this side. See, I've now moved the loop so that it cinches down this side of the knot. Now look, if you can see that, I'm going to pull that tight, and that loop is now coming up towards the knot at the bottom of the hook. Pull it tight, give it a couple of good tugs, and that knot is sitting snugly there now on the hook. Now here's the tip about why I said don't tie it to your braided main line to begin with. I can see that is how the hook can sit. If I give it a couple of tugs, that is exactly how your drop shot hook, I'll bring it down a bit so you can see it, that is exactly how it should sit, sticking out nice and proud. Now if I had tied my main line to that part and I accidentally did the knot wrong, look how it sits now. It's sitting down. It's facing down, and we don't want it facing down, so that's my whole rig I'd have to tie again. So now all I've got is I've still got my 3 foot length of fluorocarbon, if you can see in my arms there. There's the full length of my fluorocarbon with the hook in the middle. I can see it flashing there. But that is how you want it sitting. Now a little tip here, if I just hold the hook. Some people like to get this bottom tag end here, just here, and they like to push it back through the hook again, just to help it stick out more proud. So I'll just show you so you can see. So that's then pulled through. I'm pulling that through again, that bottom tag end, and it's almost just securing the knot a bit more. But what I find it does is it makes the hook almost pull tighter to the line. So what I'm going to do is actually push that back through. So I don't personally do that. That's just another thing that you can do. I just like to do the normal Palomar knot, which I just did, and have the hook sitting like that. Now this end up here, the top hand, this is the part I'm now going to tie to my braided main line. Now I've got 20-pound braid here. You might think that's overkill for perch. I don't. I like to land my perch, and I'd rather have stronger stuff in case I get into snags. So there's my fluorocarbon, there's my braided main line. Now this is called an Albright knot, this, and you can actually watch this. There's probably an easier way to tie this if you look at our videos, how to tie knots part 1, and I'll put a link just there for you. My dad actually shows you with much thicker line, nice and bright yellow, and it's a really, really good knot tying video, and the Albright knot is in there, in that video. It's part 1 or part 2, but I'll put part 1 up there. Now, what I do, hopefully you'll be able to see this, is here's my braided main line. This is coming out the top of my fishing rod. I make a loop, and then I pinch it down together. So there's my loop. Because braid is very kind of supple, really, it doesn't have any strength to it. It just, that loop's quite bendy, but hopefully you can see that. Now, with my fluorocarbon here, I've got about 3 inches above my finger. It's very hard to see that fluorocarbon. If I reflect in the light, you might be able to see it. I've got 3 inches there. Now I'm going to put that through this loop and then bring it towards my finger and thumb up here and pinch it. So what I have now, I've put my finger through that loop, by the way, and I've pinched that so that the line is facing up. There. Now holding everything together, with these fingers, my fingers in this loop here, I'm pinching here so nothing slides. With these fingers, I'm going to grab that fluorocarbon and wrap it around everything, mainline and the fluorocarbon loop, 9 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pinching it as I go. 7, 8, 9. Now I've still got that loop. Do not lose that loop. If you can see that, mine is coming close. There is a loop here still in my fingers. I'm going back through that loop with this fluorocarbon here. That's going back through the loop. So you might not be able to see it very well, but I've gone back through the loop. Then I'm pinching it. Then I can let go now because I'm pinching that fluorocarbon. And I'm going to pinch, there's a tag end here which is the braid. So I'm going to pinch that, all of that together in one big lump and slowly holding all the line, just slowly pull it down. Now, it gets to that stage there, and then you wet the knot. So, there's a bit of saliva on the knot now. Now, if I pull that together, that knot will then cinch. You can see it cinching down tight. It's really tough. It's a good strong knot. Give it a good tug, and there we go. Now, there's my knot. Obviously, I'm not going to leave those tag ends just sticking out to the side like that. So I'm going to trim them. So if we come in close, got my scissors here. Don't trim them too short. The fish honestly do not get spooked of the tag ends. They do not get spooked. So there's my knot, Albright knot. Here's my scissors, and I just leave probably half a centimetre of, just under half a centimetre there of tag end. That was the fluorocarbon. Then I find the braided tag end. Braid's quite tricky to cut with normal scissors. So get it right in the teeth without going too close to the knot. And just there we go. So that's my Albright knot there done. It's not the world's prettiest knot, but it's done, and there's a couple of tag ends there. So I've got my main line. Then it goes to the fluorocarbon, and I've got about a foot there, just over a foot fluorocarbon. And there's my hook sitting nice and proud. Now, I've got a drop shot lead now, and they are very specific to this type of fishing, these drop shot leads. Let me show you how they work. Okay, well here's the drop shot weight that I use. It's a tungsten one, this one. And this is 5 gram, you can get them in different sizes. Now if you look, it's almost, there is an eye here, but it's like the crushed eye of a swivel. If I put my finger behind it, you might be able to see. It's like the crushed eye of a swivel. There is a hole there at the bottom. Now, here's my fluorocarbon, the bottom end of my fluorocarbon, right at the bottom of the rig. And I'm going to push that through the hole, like so. And then I'm going to hold this tag end here and just pinch it with the lead so that nothing slips. Now, the brilliant thing about this weight is, this is the main line going up to my hook, is you just cinch it up to the top and pinch it. My hands are a bit slippy. If I give a good wrap on it, you pinch it up, and there, that now sits like that. So if we come back out now, you can see there's the, right at the bottom is my tag end almost. That's just bouncing around on the bottom. My hook is here, sitting out like this, and there's my lead, if you can see, just under the hook. So you've got lead, a tag end down here, come up the line, there's the hook sitting out nice and proud. Then it goes up to my main line, and that's where my lure will go. Now, the great thing about these drop shot hooks is if you look, you can see that that is a foot, just under a foot, I'd say. Probably 6 to 8 inches there, that depth, from my hook to my lead. Now, if I was fishing, say, deeper water, or the perch were higher up in the water, I can then adjust this lead, and this is the great bit. If I show you here, if you come in close, I can just pop that line out, no knots, nothing. I just pop it out of the lead eye. I slide it deeper down. I've got that tag end. That's why you leave that tag end at the end. And then holding it tightly again, I can pop it up. So now, if you look, I've got an even bigger drop from my lead to my hook. So you can adjust the depth. If I put a lure on, you might be able to see it a bit better now. There. You can adjust the depth. There's my lure. There's my lead. And I can adjust that lead anywhere from right near the hook, 2 inches away, all the way down to almost 12 inches. So there's a big range of depth. And do not worry, these perch do not get afraid of a big tag end. If you have a foot long tag end at the back of your drop shot lead, they do not mind. So it doesn't spook them. So there's the rig overall. So let's start at the bottom. We've got the drop shot lead, which is pinched in there, which you can adjust. And then I like to have a foot above it. There's the Palomar knot on the hook, and that hook's sitting out nice and proud. that's the lure I love using, Fish Action, kind of 3-inch tractor shad, DS it's called I think. And then I've got another foot of fluorocarbon, and here is the Albright Knot. Bit of a messy one that I've tied here, but go on to our how to tie fishing knots video and there'll be a really good demonstration there. And then there's my braid going all the way to my reel. So I hope you've managed to pick up something from this video on drop shot, how to tie the drop shot rig. This is just my way of tying it. I'm sure there's probably hundreds of ways that you can tie it, but this is the one that's worked for me.